The footprint evidence, the casts that were recovered from this site, I would be very convinced of the credibility of the film. The Sasquatch has retained the more primitive characteristic of a very flexible instep, a midfoot flexibility, which can be seen here.
For decades, researchers have tried to communicate with Bigfoot, but few have ever stopped to wonder who or what the creature might be trying to communicate with in return. The mystery has persisted across generations. From the recording of this peculiar being in the woods to the many attempts to discredit it, one film continues to stand as the central piece of evidence in this everlasting mystery. The 1967 Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film is a piece of footage so old and so debated that even the most advanced artificial intelligence tools have now been turned toward it. And what they found defies belief. The search for Bigfoot has always been more than a story. It is a study in obsession. Arguments about the creature's existence have lasted longer than some scientific theories, and part of that longevity comes from the fact that very few people have ever seen anything like it with their own eyes. Even when evidence surfaces in the form of blurry photographs or shaky videos, clarity becomes the enemy. Yet among the thousands of false alarms, one film has always been too difficult to dismiss. The Patterson-Gimlin footage, recorded in the wilds of Northern California, captures a figure unlike anything documented before or since. It lasts just 59 seconds, but in that single minute, something extraordinary is frozen in time.
Very rugged, steep terrain that you can see surrounding this film subject. That's a remarkable detail that is rarely drawn attention to.
Every frame has been examined by skeptics and believers alike. Footprint casts taken from the site reveal details no human footprint could replicate, showing mid-foot flexibility and an arch consistent with a primitive non-human gait. Some of the most advanced AI image systems have analyzed these frames, scanning movement, weight distribution, and anatomical coherence, and even now, no one has managed to disprove it. After half a century of scrutiny, the clip remains untouched by certainty. Roger Patterson, the man behind the camera, was questioned relentlessly. When asked about the film's authenticity, he passed a lie detector test without hesitation. His companion, Bob Gimlin, remained equally steadfast, insisting that what they captured was genuine. Despite this, debate still burns hotter than ever. If both men believed the footage was real, then what exactly did they see? How could something so detailed remain unprovable in the modern age? The roots of a legend. Stories of hairy giants and wild men are as old as humanity itself. Ancient Sumerian texts in the Epic of Gilgamesh mention Enkidu, a wild being covered in hair and living among beasts, eerily similar in description to what we now call Bigfoot.
I don't believe that there was any possibility that this was a hoax. The creature, to both of us, appeared very natural.
This fascination with creatures that straddle the line between man and myth has followed us for millennia. Roger Patterson's own interest in the subject was ignited when he read Ivan Sanderson's work, Abominable Snowmen, Legend Come to Life. The moment he opened that book, his course was set. He decided that if such a creature existed, he would be the one to find it. Driven by this obsession, Patterson embarked on expeditions into the California wilderness. Between 1962 and 1964, he made 2 trips to Bluff Creek, a region already famous among Bigfoot enthusiasts. The area was vast, isolated, and thick with forests where visibility fell to nothing within a few feet. Patterson claimed that on those early journeys, he found enormous footprints pressed deep into the soil, still fresh when he discovered them. That was all the proof he needed. Convinced that the evidence was building, he vowed to return until he obtained undeniable proof. As time passed, enthusiasm faded among his peers. Fellow adventurers dropped away, calling the search fruitless or foolish. But Patterson persisted. Only one man agreed to join him again, not out of belief but out of loyalty. Bob Gimlin decided to accompany his friend on one more journey into the unknown. The encounter at Bluff Creek. On October 20th, 1967, while the 2 men rode along Bluff Creek through the Northern California wilderness, something massive moved. It was upright, deliberate, and unlike any known animal. The creature stood nearly 7 feet tall, its body covered in thick brown hair that seemed to ripple naturally with each stride. It appeared to be attempting to conceal itself, crouching low behind the log, but its size made hiding impossible. The men froze. Then Patterson's instinct took over. He dismounted, grabbed his camera, and began to film. The being they captured would later be known by a simple name, Patty. Later analysis suggested it might have been female, the shape of its chest and the prominence of its upper torso hinting at features inconsistent with any known primate. Patterson filmed as steadily as he could while Gimlin kept watch. What emerged from that brief moment became one of the most controversial clips in human history. The original film reel has long since been lost, leaving only salvaged copies that have survived decades of duplication. Even so, what remains continues to command attention. The footage shows the creature moving calmly through a clearing before disappearing into the forest. The film ends abruptly, almost as if the moment itself refused to be captured any longer. Gimlin wanted to follow the creature, but Patterson stopped him. He was unarmed and frightened of what might happen if there were others nearby. What if it wasn't alone?
In order to get as wide as the back was, like Grover Cranston was, you'd have to hold your arms up to the side of the elbows to get the shoulder width. Then you got this, so then you got to use some apparatus to sling the arms. But these bend, because you can see in the film.
They decided to stay where they were. That was the last time anyone saw it. Later, when the shock subsided, the two men returned to the scene. The creature had left a trail of deep footprints leading away from the clearing, each one enormous and perfectly formed. They hurried back to camp to collect plaster, then returned to make casts of the prints before the weather could erase them. Those casts, along with the famous frame showing the creature glancing back, became the foundation for every argument that followed. Frame 352 became the most analyzed image in cryptozoological history. It shows the creature mid-stride, turning its head toward the camera in a motion that appears entirely natural, muscles shifting under the fur. When AI later examined the footage, it confirmed that the proportions and gait were not consistent with any known costume. Despite every effort, no digital analysis has ever identified signs of tampering or staging. The mystery only deepened. The skeptics strike back. Skeptics continued to dismiss the footage, calling it an elaborate prank or a man in a costume. To them it was showmanship, a perfectly timed piece of theater set in the woods, yet none of them could reproduce it. The fluidity of the stride, the shifting of the shoulders, and the anatomical precision remained unmatched even with modern film technology. Each attempt to debunk the film only made it stronger. Patterson never wavered in his belief, and Gimlin supported him without hesitation. For the rest of their lives, they maintained that what they saw that day was real. Decades of public skepticism and ridicule did not change their conviction, which in itself became another mystery. Among believers, even agreement remains elusive. Some claim the men saw a bear walking upright, others argue it was an unknown primate species. But none of these explanations align with the footage. Bears do not have such proportions, nor do they walk with the measured, balanced rhythm seen in the film. Some researchers suggested that what Patterson and Gimlin encountered could have been a remnant of a species thought long extinct, a relic of an earlier age still surviving in the hidden reaches of the world.
You know, you can think, I said, I'm not out here to prove to anybody that they exist at all. I said, I know they exist.
The speculation only reinforced how little anyone truly knew. The most popular biological theory proposed that the creature could be related to Gigantopithecus, an ancient giant ape that once roamed Asia. The idea fit perfectly until it collapsed under evidence. Fossils of that species have never been found in North America, and experts agree it died out hundreds of thousands of years ago. That theory joined the long list of others that explain nothing. Some turned to more imaginative explanations, suggesting that Bigfoot might be something beyond terrestrial biology. The idea sounds fantastic, but so does the footage itself. And in mysteries like this, every possibility gets its moment before the lens. Yet, even these theories could not answer why the film has resisted exposure as a hoax for so long. The film that refuses to be debunked. Over 50 years later, not a single investigation has definitively proven the film to be fake. With today's technology, artificial intelligence can fabricate entire faces, voices, and worlds from nothing, yet it still cannot dismantle this short, grainy clip from 1967. That stubborn resilience continues to unsettle both believers and skeptics alike, because if it cannot be disproved, What else could it be? In the early 2000s, author Greg Long reignited controversy around the Patterson-Gimlin film with his book, The Making of Bigfoot, The Inside Story, claiming it was an elaborate hoax. He alleged that a local man named Bob Hieronymus was paid $1,000 to wear an ape suit and pose as Bigfoot, supposedly orchestrated by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin before their 1967 expedition. Hieronymus stated that the suit came from costume maker Philip Morris and was padded with sports gear to give it a larger build. He also claimed he stayed silent for decades because he was never compensated as promised, though his story lacked tangible proof, photographs, or documentation. Morris stated that he sold a gorilla suit for $435, but no record of that sale has ever surfaced. He described the material as a synthetic fiber called dinyl, commonly used in marine construction, an odd choice for a costume. Hieronymus contradicted this, describing it as a mix of synthetic fur and horsehide that emitted a foul odor. 2 supposed participants, 2 conflicting accounts, and not a single surviving scrap of evidence. The contradictions were enough to erode both stories. Frame by frame, the footage tells a different story. The creature's muscles appear to contract naturally beneath the fur, and there are no visible folds, seams, or creases around the joints that would reveal a costume.
And a lot of people scoff at it and don't believe it, but I believe it. I'm convinced that these creatures exist.
The body moves with a rhythm that suggests true weight and balance. To fake that in the 1960s would require technology that did not exist, and even today visual effects experts struggle to reproduce it with precision. The closer one studies the details, the harder it becomes to dismiss. Even with Hieronymus confessing, his story lacked physical evidence and consistency, and artificial intelligence analysis of the original film found no signs of staging. The movements remained anatomically convincing, the proportions beyond human norm, and the illusion intact after half a century. How could something so old and so simple look more real than the technology of our own time? The failed replications. Over the years, many have tried to recreate the creature captured in the Patterson-Gimlin footage. Costume designers, special effects artists, and filmmakers have all attempted to reproduce the same movements, anatomy, and realism. None have succeeded. Even when the materials used were said to be the same, the end result always looked artificial. Modern suits crumpled around the joints, the fur clumped unnaturally, and the illusion fell apart the moment the subject moved. Philip Morris himself, the man who claimed to have made the original suit, tried to reconstruct it years later. His second version failed miserably. The folds around the arms and legs were impossible to hide. The material sagged where it should have stretched. Instead of a living, breathing being, it looked like what it was, a costume. If this was indeed what he had sold to Patterson and Gimlin, why could he never build it again? Why did it never match the original in proportion, form, or fluidity? When AI tools began reanalyzing the Patterson-Gimlin film, researchers expected them to uncover the trick behind it. They did not. Instead, the results reinforced the puzzle. AI became the film's greatest ally. The very technology that can fabricate people out of pixels now stood unable to disprove a decades-old piece of celluloid. This outcome left scientists and skeptics alike in an uncomfortable position. The creature's physical structure continues to confound experts. Its arms are unusually long, almost matching the length of its legs, suggesting proportions outside human range. When skeptics argued that the shape could have been created with padding or prosthetics, closer digital inspection disproved the idea. There are no hollow gaps, no abrupt rigidity, no flattening where foam or padding might sit. The longer the footage is examined, the more it appears to depict something genuine and unaltered. Even with today's understanding of biomechanics and 3D motion analysis, no human performer has been able to replicate the same rhythm or symmetry in movement. The torso and limbs maintain a coordination that aligns more closely with primate locomotion than human gait. The discovery unsettles those who once saw the film as a simple hoax. The most astonishing element of this story is not what technology has revealed, but what it has failed to explain.
Sasquatch has retained the more primitive characteristic of a very flexible instep, a midfoot flexibility, which can be seen here. So as the heel comes up in the supporting foot, the heel moves somewhat independently of the rest of the foot.
With all the progress made in artificial intelligence, computer vision, and visual effects, not one system has been able to expose a falsehood within the Patterson-Gimlin film. Attempts to generate synthetic versions using deep learning reconstruction have produced uncanny imitations, yet the authentic film retains a strange coherence that no recreation achieves. Even the most advanced cinematic creatures, backed by millions in production, do not mirror the natural dynamics of the original subject. Morris and the myth of the suit. When Philip Morris came forward to claim authorship of the gorilla suit, he unintentionally added another layer of confusion. His statement that the suit was made from a synthetic nylon designed for marine reinforcement sounded implausible, especially when compared to Hieronymus's description involving animal hide and synthetic fur. Their conflicting accounts damaged the credibility of both. For researchers using AI modeling to test these claims, the mismatch between the described materials and the observed textures in the film stood out immediately. The reflective properties of Dynol would have interacted with sunlight in a specific way, producing glare patterns. None were visible. The hair seen in the footage absorbs light, behaving like natural fur rather than nylon. Once again, the film defied explanation. The film showed no signs of compositing or fabrication, but it could not determine what the subject actually was. The most remarkable realization was that the more precisely the data was measured, the less it conformed to any known biological norm. What was once dismissed as fantasy had become a case study in what science cannot yet classify. Half a century after the recording, the debate shows no sign of dying. Skeptics still insist that every anomaly has a mundane explanation, while believers maintain that the absence of proof against it is its own evidence. The Patterson-Gimlin film stands at the crossroads of belief and disbelief, suspended between technological scrutiny and human wonder. The enduring puzzle of authenticity. When viewed through modern forensic filters, every frame of the film becomes an argument in itself. AI mapping has traced the terrain shown in the film and confirmed that the background matches the geography of Bluff Creek exactly. No stage or backdrop could replicate such accuracy. Each new layer of analysis strengthens the integrity of what remains. Even so, authenticity does not equal comprehension. The question that haunts every investigator is not whether the film is real, but whether what it shows is real. For Patterson and Gimlin, belief came with a cost. They were ridiculed, doubted, and accused of fabrication. Patterson died believing he had captured a glimpse of truth the world refused to accept. Gimlin carried the story forward, repeating it through the years with steady conviction but little reward. Neither man profited from the fame of the footage. Instead, they became part of its myth, symbols of the fine line between discovery and delusion.
Well, the guys that I worked with, they believed in me and stuff, but the other folks didn't. You know, they just said...
The AI analysis, though groundbreaking, could not change that. Technology may have stripped away human error, but it could not erase human doubt. The story of Bigfoot stretches far beyond one film. Ancient legends, scattered sightings, and modern analysis all contribute to a narrative that refuses to end. The Patterson-Gimlin footage is simply the most enduring manifestation of that fascination. The creature in those frames has become an icon of ambiguity, a reminder that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. Artificial intelligence can now reconstruct human faces from DNA, simulate extinct species, and calculate probabilities that once seemed impossible, yet it still cannot tell us what walked through Bluff Creek that autumn afternoon in 1967. The shadow remains, moving just beyond certainty's reach. What AI could and couldn't see. When the film was run through high-resolution frame interpolation and machine learning systems, every artifact of motion was isolated. The algorithms tracked the body's center of gravity, limb oscillation, and joint articulation. Everything aligned with physical reality. But AI could not see the intention. It could not sense fear or awareness. It could not answer the oldest question of all. What was looking back at the camera in that single glance? Every analysis ends in the same place: uncertainty. Whether you see a man in a suit or a living relic of evolution depends as much on what you bring to the film as what it shows you. AI has stripped away the noise, but not the mystery. The results reveal motion that is too natural to fake, muscles that contract with impossible precision, and proportions beyond human design. Yet the conclusion remains suspended, neither confirmed nor denied. After all the data, all the scrutiny, and all the reanalysis, artificial intelligence delivered a verdict that was both profound and unsatisfying.
The feet are properly designed for carrying that kind of body weight, and that doesn't make any sense unless you've got a body of that size. And Patterson could not have faked any of this stuff. I talked to him about some of the things I saw, and he didn't even understand what I was talking about.
The film shows a real physical subject moving through the environment with coherence and natural motion. No digital or physical manipulation could be detected. In the simplest terms, AI found nothing false, but it could not identify the being either. In an age where machines can fabricate the impossible, the inability to fabricate this particular truth is what gives it power. The Patterson-Gimlin film has become more than a relic. It is a reminder that even the smartest systems can still be humbled by mystery. Today, Bluff Creek is quieter than ever. The forest has reclaimed the space where two men once stood and filmed something that continues to divide the world. The plaster casts remain, the frames endure, and the questions persist. Artificial intelligence has advanced further than anyone in 1967 could have dreamed, but it has not changed the story. The film endures because it touches the part of us that still wants to believe that something undiscovered walks among us. More than 50 years later, the Patterson-Gimlin footage remains an unsolved artifact, a fragment of reality that refuses to conform. AI has seen it, measured it, and decoded it, yet the result is the same. It is either the most extraordinary evidence of a creature we have yet to name, or the most perfect illusion ever captured on film. Either way, it stands as proof of how far curiosity can go and how deep the unknown can remain. From the recording of that strange creature in the woods to the countless people who tried to disprove it, the story has come full circle. The same technology that can now create voices from silence and faces from numbers has returned to analyze a moment frozen in time. It has done what no one else could: strip away the noise, the speculation, and the myth, leaving only the pure data of movement and light. And within that data lies something uncanny, a presence that defies categorization. In a world now defined by artificial intelligence, perhaps the last great mystery left to humanity is one that cannot be programmed away. The film that began as a shaky glimpse of something impossible has outlived every skeptic and believer who tried to define it. In the end, the Patterson-Gimlin footage stands not as proof of a legend, but as proof of human wonder itself. A reminder that even in an age of infinite data, there are still things the machine cannot explain.